We are live. Aloha no. Today is
No, we're not,
Tuesday,
Charles.
April 14th.
Charles,
Yes,
Charles,
yes,
Charlie,
yes.
Charlie, we're not live, Charlie. We're not live.
But
We
mine
are
says,
live, Charles. We
yes,
are
we are
live.
live.
Sorry. I gotta tell you, man. Hang on. I gotta do this thing here. We gotta come on a little early and we gotta share this thing. But okay, now why can't I share it? Uh, so what's going on, Charles? What's going on? How was your day today?
Well, today I'd like to say that the West Side, and I am very proud of the many who have given so much of their time, volunteers to meet the guys who come out from the boats, sharing the wealth of the ocean with a lot of the needy families. It went very, very well today. So I'm so proud of them. Yep. Other than that, just trying to stay calm, cool, and collected. Because what else is there to do? And I'm learning. I'm learning to be a good listener. I was never a good listener to my wife before, but now I'm a good listener. I allow her to talk all the way until such time I make my way into the bedroom and go sleep. I listen to the very, very, very end. So, oh boy, I'm gonna get cracks. I know when this show is over,
I
I'm
was
gonna
just
get
gonna
cracks.
say. I was just gonna say. I bet she must not be close by.
Huh?
She must not be close by.
No,
There we
I
go.
put up I built a retaining wall inside my house right by this bedroom. She need one jackhammer for get through. But other than that, doing fine. How
I'm
about
gonna
you, brother? How you doing today?
uh, going well, going well. Was a little busy today working, and I'm just kind of frustrated right now because I cannot get my cell phone to load this live. I just texted Ikaika; he should be on tonight. We have council chair. Here he comes right now. Ikaika Anderson,
Oh, I got it.
all the way
Yep.
from Honolulu, from the windward side.
Okay, brother,
He
you are
should be.
live right now.
He's coming on. There he is. Oh, what a nice haircut. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir? He, he's reading something. You have to unmute yourself. I don't think he knows we can see him. I really don't think. Oh, he froze up.
No, no, no. He's
Is he moving?
I yeah.
Ikaika, can you hear me? Ikaika. I know that he's frozen.
Yes, he is frozen because it's not too many local guys can hold that pose and not breathe at the same time. So it's frozen.
Yeah, I just kicked him out and I brought him back on. Sorry, everybody. This thing is there. He is there now. He's
Okay,
moving. Oh, we can hear him.
there we go.
We we got contact. We got contact. Thank you for joining us tonight, Chair Ikaika Anderson from the Honolulu City and County Council. How are you, my friend? City Council.
Pretty
City
good,
Council.
brother. Thank you very much for
Nice,
having us.
nice haircut.
Well, this is what happened when your barber is not an essential worker.
Well, hang on here. I'm trying to. Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go. Now
Yeah, I
we're
had to
on.
cut my own hair. Luckily, Lisa and my daughter were home to help me clean it up.
Oh,
Okay,
are,
awesome.
are you are you
Awesome.
right-handed, Ikaika? Are you right-handed?
Yes,
Okay, I can tell the cut is mainly to the left. That's why. So I can see why.
I was debating just shaving the rest off already.
Well, we're
Oh
gonna
boy.
roast. We're gonna roast tonight. We're roasting you tonight.
Thank you.
Uh
I'm sure
actually,
your coffee is just as good as mine.
man, it's delicious.
Yes.
Nothing but the best, bro. Folgers instant coffee or Taster's Choice or one of those things. Whatever's on sale is what I get at home. But
There you
anyway,
go.
Ikaika, thank you for joining us tonight. We do this every night. We've been doing this now for a few weeks. We bring on very interesting people, um, leaders in the community to share what's going on in their part of the woods. We know Honolulu Obviously, most populated island. The started off and continues to be, obviously the most cases because you got the most population. But recently, the hotspot, jumped over to Maui, and today we found out about the second cluster in Kona.
Yep.
So, but really, how's Honolulu, buddy? I mean, we see you guys on the news. You see the news focuses on Honolulu. Everything's Honolulu centric. You agree? That's just how it is.
It
So
does just happen to be that way, yes.
Yeah. And I'm not complaining because, our mayor started way before every other mayor. Our county locked down and curfewed out before any other mayor. So it's not that it's a competition, but I'm proud to be on this island where the
You should
early
be.
action from Mayor Kawakami and his administration, civil defense or emergency management, I think is a big reason why our numbers are low. But I'm turning it over to you, buddy. Give us a quick overview and lowdown of what's happening on Oahu.
Well, I advocated closing down the city and county of Honolulu rather early, roughly 4 weeks ago, maybe a little more than 4 weeks ago now. I made an announcement during a budget committee briefing that all of our budget briefings would be postponed indefinitely. And we then had a special council meeting so we could move along a bill that would allow the administration access to the city's rainy day fund. And right before that meeting started, Brother Mel, I announced that I would have all city council staff that didn't need to be in the office working from home at that point. And that was the week of March 9th. And then after that, Mayor Caldwell started a progressive track of closing the city and county of Honolulu down for business at the holiday and then folks working from home. But I would absolutely support our mayor taking those initiatives even further, just in the respect of public safety. As you know, Mel, you've been in government a long time. The primary function of government is to ensure the public health and safety of our citizens.
Absolutely. So life on Oahu right now, what can you do? What can't you do? What's essential? We saw the big thing about the fabric store. I freaked out like, wow, we're begging people to sew masks and then you shut down the store. I'm just saying, man, it's kind of awkward. My wife has been sewing masks now from morning to night for almost a week. Wow. And if the fabric store closed down,
then what?
She wouldn't be sewing masks. There would be nobody be sewing. I mean, she'd be cutting my shirts, and that's not.
I was going to say you'd have no clothes because she'd be using that.
Yeah, well, I'm wearing a lot bigger shirts now than before. So there's a huge inventory of smaller shirts that I swear I'm going to get back into, but that's not working. So yeah, there'd been a whole lot of Repulsor shirts all over the island covering people's mouths. But what can you do? What can't you do on Oahu right now? What's going on over there?
Folks are urged really to stay home. So if you absolutely must go out for exercise, within reason, you're able to do that so long as you distance yourselves from people not in your immediate household. You are allowed to go out and pick up food, do grocery runs in addition to that, as well as seek medical care and care for your kupuna. That's basically all you can do though. I have a beach right down the street from my house. Folks are allowed to go down and jump in the water and remain in the water. It's not encouraged, but that's allowed. We do have folks who are actually staying on the beach at times. And our men and women in Honolulu Police Department Blue will go down and tell them if they're not in the water, they need to leave. So our county is taking this very seriously, as we should. We have to.
You guys had a curfew over the Easter weekend.
We did, and we stopped it.
Your mayor lifted it again. How did that go? I mean, I saw the news. It was kind of like empty streets. It's unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen Honolulu like that. But was there a lot of flack from the constituents regarding the curfew?
There are people who weren't happy, but we're always going to have people who aren't happy with what we do in government. I mean, that's a given. But again, the primary function of government is to ensure health and safety of our citizens. And some people are going to disagree. I've always said, though, so be it. this epidemic. We need to do it. We need to do it to keep people safe. And if that means uncomfortable government shutdowns and requiring people to shelter in place at home, then that's what we have to do.
So restrictions wise, you guys just have you still can go to the beach. It's pretty much similar to what Kauai has. We just passed
without the curfew.
Yeah, you don't have the curfew, but you have a stay-at-home order, right? You do have a stay-at-home order.
We are supposed to stay at home, yes. Now we don't have roadblocks and our men and women in blue checking to see exactly where people are going, but for the most part, people have been compliant. I was at the store last night, our local Foodland in my community. Foodland is now requiring all customers to wear masks when they come in. And when you come in to shop, you're at Foodland anyway, you're allowed to bring one additional shopper with you. That's it. And the store was practically empty.
No mask requirement right now. We just started a mask requirement. Anytime you're out of your house, anywhere outside of you got to wear a mask. You have to, or you get a ticket. Is that
when did that start?
Yesterday.
For you guys?
Yep.
Okay. For us, it starts next week, Monday.
Okay. And then we also the mayor released some of the non-essential work like construction, landscaping. So that's going to become now they can go back to work. So that'll help a bunch of families get their families back to work. So that'll help.
Well, that'll be a good thing.
Now, I know I cannot watch all the comments coming out, but there's a couple. I know Lisa said she's responsible for your nice haircut. She fixed it up, she said, to make it decent.
I'm lucky she did. It would have looked worse.
Senator Kochi is on, Sue Kanoho is on, and there's a whole bunch of people on. But how much do you know? How much information do you have on how the testing is done on Oahu? I mean, we hear
the testing on Oahu has come out pretty good. We've been working extensively on testing. Primarily, our private labs have been working out a lot on that. The testing on Oahu has come out pretty good. We've been working extensively. So we've been working really hard with the private labs on the testing. But as the WHO and the CDC experts have continued to say, testing is really where it's at and is vital to keeping our community safe so that we know who's infected and that we're able to quarantine those folks.
Well, the WHO, CDC, NYPD, every acronym you can think of is saying the same thing.
Yes.
Everyone has come to the conclusion. I shouldn't say everyone, because there's people on this call right now that are going to debate this and say that's not the case, that we shouldn't be testing everybody, that we shouldn't be widespread testing. But the bottom line is the CDC, all of the major countries that have seen some success, and we'll get into this a little bit, because you remember Minnie Cole?
Yes.
She has been in contact with me on a daily basis. She shared all the information I'm going to talk about tonight. She shared with your mayor. And it's basically the roadmap of what South Korea is doing. And it's completely different. But their system is working. Yeah, they're finding some the resurgence, and they're trying to figure out if it's a different virus or a different strain, or if in fact people that were once infected can actually get infected the second time. My last communication with her was from the 10th. They're doing that study. They expect the results in a couple of weeks. But they're so progressive. They're so advanced. Right. And I don't understand. I watched the press conference, and I listened to our director, the health director, say that testing it does nothing for us. He said that yesterday. That it does nothing. It's a snapshot in time, and you could be negative today and positive tomorrow. You could be positive today and negative tomorrow. And I don't understand why there is a lack of emphasis on the testing. And I guess the question for you is, you have testing sites all over the island, correct?
We've had quite a few. We've done a testing actually on Oahu, started in Windward, Oahu, where Dr. Scott Miskovich and his team did private testing in Kaneohe. And then from there, it branched out to Kaka'ako and then to Central Oahu. So we've been doing quite a bit of that.
You guys are pretty much everywhere. I mean, testing is not an issue. I don't think it's an issue on Oahu, from what I see on the news anyway. And I guess that's kind of, I think we really got to blow up on the testing. I think we got to test more. I still don't know how many tests we did on Kauai. I've asked the question. You know, we keep getting the large statewide 19,000 tests. We know that the state has performed about 500 of those tests. The rest has come from private labs, PLS, clinical labs, and Miskovich's team and the Waikiki doctors. Those guys are pretty cool. You can walk in, you get a blood test, and in 10 minutes they tell you if you got the antibody. They you know, it's so there's a lot of opportunities on Oahu, not as many here. And here, I'll be honest, from the stories I'm hearing, you really got to be really sick to get the test. In the last
unless you're really sick, that's right. Unless you're really sick or you have travel history. So when I came back from the NACO Legislative Conference, Lisa and I actually went to go get tested. We had just come back from New York, March 7th. We came back on March 6th from New York. On March 7th, Governor, I believe, declared state of emergency. So we just got out of there, luckily. And I ended up going with my wife to get a test when I came back for that reason, due to the travel history. But unless you're feeling ill or you have travel history, you're not going to get a test because the tests are in high demand, but still not enough supply is available to test everybody. Wish we could.
I'm not sure if you saw Dr. Miskovich's interview on KITV. I believe it was on Easter Sunday, actually. I believe it was on Easter Sunday. Were you able to watch that, Ikaika?
No.
I will send that to you because I think it's really worth watching. He talks about the myths of testing, the myths that there's this shortage. The shortage is really the government handed out, what do you call it? The freebies handed out by the government. That is a problem because the stockpiles are being depleted. But there is no shortage of test kits or PPEs if you purchase. And he made it very clear.
That's good to know.
I'll send you the link. It's on my YouTube channel, but it's about a 30-minute interview. And he's very straightforward and blunt. And he said, you know, every one of his employees gets tested every week. Every one of his employees have PPE that they don't have to go wash that, and it's available. Yeah, you got to pay for it. There's a cost to it, but at the end of the day, what he's saying is this whole thing about we have a shortage, we got to conserve our tests for the really sick people. That really defeats the purpose. You know, if the guy comes in and he's coughing and he's got the fever, that's the ones we're testing. Because in fact, he said it. I can't remember who it was yesterday, said that we're very conservative in our tests. We only test the people that we believe are probably positive. Insane. But that's kind of the world we live in today. So I'll send you Miskovich's thing because do you feel you guys are getting adequate testing on Oahu? Do you feel that that there is enough testing for your constituents out there on Oahu?
I feel that we're doing the best we can with what we have, but I would agree with Dr. Miskovich and Lieutenant Governor Green that we should test as much as we can. Again, if you go back to the South Korean model that you were just talking about, the South Korean government was very, very successful with their testing, but a lot of testing was done. And what the South Korean government also seemed to excel at was the contact tracing. When they found somebody to test positive, the government did an excellent job in tracing that person's last steps and those who had direct contact with that infected individual to try to contain. And they did a great job there, obviously.
I'll just read. This was the most recent email that I got from Minnie. And Minnie is a good friend of ours. She's very active in the South Korean government. She's the liaison between the South Korean government and Hawaii government. Her mom was our host when we went to Korea last year. Ikaika invited me on a sister city trip to South Korea, and we went to Incheon and Seoul. But let me just read this real quick because I think it's interesting. She says, attaches an update on a COVID situation in South Korea. This was April 10th, just 3 days or 4 days ago. Today is the first day that Korea has seen 0 cases in the epicenter Daeju. Although the number of people who have tested the number of people who have tested positive in Korea is 39. This is a positive sign. However, the government is still really encouraging people to stay at home. It took just one person here, patient number 31. Remember that 39 patients, patient number 31, right, who was able to spread it to hundreds of people, which became thousands of people very quickly.
Exactly.
So when a cluster shows up and you have 14 people, one swack, boom, the potential of this thing growing out of control is very, very real. And I think that is the problem. And in fact, she says, it is the cluster positives that really worries the government. Today on the governor's press conference, he said, we are starting to see the flattening of the curve. Mm-hmm. On the same day that he reported a new cluster popping up in Kona. That kind of troubles me. In Seoul right now, in Seoul right now, any bar that they find open, they arrest not only the bar owner, every patron in the bar gets arrested and taken to jail. And then this is the last part that I wanted to cover right now. A total of 91 patients who recovered from COVID-19 tested positive again. 91 patients who recovered from COVID-19 tested positive again as of April 10th. This is raising fears that the virus can be reactivated. And this is what I talked about earlier. They'll have the results in about 2 weeks of that study. Bottom line is this virus is very contagious, very easy to transfer. And that's why we have been focusing, Charlie and I have been focusing every night on telling people to stay at home, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and follow all the rules, because this thing can get out of control real quickly.
And that's what I believe some are not recognizing, because you continue to have people in the community across Hawaii who ask about the stay-at-home orders, who have the opinion that the flu kills more people than COVID-19 has on an annual basis. And we don't have these types of quarantines and stay-at-home orders for the flu. So why for COVID? Folks really need to understand that according to the medical experts and the scientists, and this information is available if folks want to read it, COVID is up to 3 times more infectious than the flu. And because it is a new virus, that's why it's called the novel coronavirus, our bodies don't have a natural immunity to it. So if you get infected, essentially your body's on its own trying to fight it off. And we all know that depending on the person and their infection, every case is oftentimes different with a different result. But we got to really stress to people, Mel, that the infection rate of COVID is 3 times that of the flu. People got to understand that.
And exactly. And I think that's where people, we have people on this call right now that'll swear up and down that, it's just another flu. We have people, I think, in our leadership that believe this is just another flu and
sure,
think and keep your fingers crossed that tomorrow morning we'll have no cases. I like to be an optimist too, but I also read, like you, Ikaika, and like Charlie, and like many of us watching this tonight. I do a lot of research. I read a lot of case studies from different places, and it's very clear in my mind that this virus is much more dangerous than your common flu. Mm-hmm. And that, number 2, we got to test, and we got to test wide and heavy. And and I'll go over this in a little bit, but I just saw a question real quick. Ask them how many tourists are getting to Honolulu. You guys getting a bunch of those people coming over and invading your land?
In short, yes. The most recent Cracker Jacks who've come over here that have raised our ire anyway. I'm not sure how long they've been here, but the most recent group of them who've raised the community's ire came from the East Coast, set up shop in a vacation rental to offer yoga and other classes. And they stated on their social media page that Hawaii is their COVID escape and that they feel absolutely safe here, and so should their clients. They're even trying to bring more people from the mainland here to join them. Some Hawaii residents have had very unkind things to say to these folks, to say the least. But what these folks need to realize, Mel, is if they do get ill and they end up in the hospital, they're taking away hospital beds from our residents. That's what's dangerous here. It's not just what they're doing is irresponsible and can harm they themselves. They go in the hospital, they're taking up services from our residents, and that's not okay.
We began this crusade a while back, and the whole focus, in fact, I told people, if you're going to write to the president about stopping flights, don't talk about these tourists coming over and being irresponsible. The bottom line, exactly what you just said. We don't have enough resources, medical resources, beds, ICU rooms, and ventilators. We can't afford to be giving them to people who are not our residents. That was the whole focus of the crusade. Was not that we don't want tourists. We love tourists. We want them to come, but not now.
Exactly.
Who the hell in your right mind would go into a war zone for vacation?
Well, yeah, but some of these folks apparently.
Yeah, because it's safer here than it is where they come from. No, stay there.
Agree.
Share the Corona Aloha with your groups up in the mainland. That's the message. And we got Sukano on, and I can tell you, she's been fighting and working hard to identify these violators here and get them arrested or cited. So thank you, Sue, for all that you're doing. I know she gets a lot of criticism, like she's the one inviting all the tourists. Yeah, that's her job, but that stopped. And in fact, she has been working tirelessly to discourage airlines and hotels and all these accommodation units to keep their people out of here. So thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue.
Well, Charlie, Mel, I think what makes it hard, and I can see some of the comments already, a lot of them they're confused because, we're trying to lick this virus, and there's so many pluses and minuses when the messaging goes out regarding who gets a test and who doesn't get a test. So people start getting confused. And I think with this way it's being handled, and I think we talked about it, right, Mel? We talked about this with several of our guests, with Donna Mercado Kim. We talked about it with the Lieutenant Governor, is that when you give out the messaging to make something very difficult and unattractive so they don't come here, you got to tell yourself, I don't think it's unattractive enough. And that's why they said, hey, we can live with coming over here and taking our chance because you have a quarantine situation that's really not a quarantine, right? And so when individuals look at that, they're basically saying, hey, it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, but it's a chicken. So we can take a chance on that. And I think that's why they're taking a chance. If we had a government-run facility, like we've always said before, when you want to have a real quarantine, that people will say, "Oh, you come here." No, you don't get to pick where you get to go. You will go to X. You will go to X facility, and you will spend your 14 days there. We'll provide you with food. We provide you with shelter for the next 14 days. But until that message comes out, people are just basically laughing at the type of quarantine that we have here. Because like you said, nobody's really going out and checking. I know they wanted to do it where you go online. I said, well, if my laptop can catch Wi-Fi, right, I can go any place I like go. And I said, okay, yeah, I'm here, no worry. I'm here in beautiful Waimanalo right now. I'm supposed to be in Waimanalo, but I'm actually in Macau, Macau or someplace like that, right? And so all of those things are just factors that I think makes it hard. It makes it hard.
And for those of you just joining us, I see some of the comments asking, who the guy? Who the guy? This is Council Chair Ikaika Anderson from Oahu, longtime politician, longtime community servant. His wife Lisa is there as well. I hear her mumbling, and I had to mute you out because you guys was, I don't know what you guys was talking about, but I'm afraid to let the public know what you guys was talking about. So we muted you out there, but you're back.
She's offering to cut your hair too, Mel, next time you're in town.
Thank God for this no travel virus. I got to get this thing cut pretty soon. I don't know what I'm going to do. Patsy's good at sewing and cooking. I don't know about cutting hair.
Go find out. Let me know how it works.
Yeah. So aside from how about the TVRs? You guys getting some issues with TVRs and B&Bs on Oahu? I know you guys have had some issues. You guys are not afraid to tax the crap out of them.
Definitely willing to. I'm willing to shut them down, but that's our mayor's call. But I would be absolutely willing to shut them down, honestly, if it were my call. But speaking about the travelers, Mel, the state government could even take that further by only allowing Hawaii residents off the plane. If you're not a returning Hawaii resident, you're going to sit on that plane until, I don't know, I guess until the plane turns around. But we can't shut down the airport. But the governor certainly can say that folks cannot get off the plane if they don't live here. That can be done.
And we talked about that last night with Senator Donna Mercado Kim and Representative Val Okimoto. And I've been saying that for a while because we stopped the guys from getting off the cruise ship. Right? The feds take care of the cruise lines and all that stuff. But once they dock in the state harbor, it's a state Kuleana, same airplanes. You cannot stop the plane from coming, but you can stop them from coming off. You can stop them from not coming on the airport. And that
exactly.
We talked to Senator Kim and Rep Okimoto last night. They're going to look into it. I know it's just, to me, we're allowing this. And you saw today's article. The numbers are growing. It's still growing.
Exactly.
In fact, the numbers of visitors to Hawaii have increased since we implemented the quarantine.
Right.
What the heck does that tell you? Cause and effect.
That tells me stop them from getting off the plane.
Thank you. It means it's not working, Governor.
Right.
That means that your mandatory quarantine, which is being touted at every single press conference, is not working. We're getting more tourists coming in. I shouldn't say it's not working because we're getting a hell of a lot less than we were prior last year, but it's not a deterrent enough for these people to come. And I'll tell you why. Because of social media. Because all of these people are coming here taking selfies at the beach saying, wow, this is quarantine in paradise. It's mellow over here. They don't bother. That's what's happening. The stuff goes viral.
Right. And my plane ticket was 25 cents.
Yeah. And again, I don't understand. Sorry, I got to look down because I check in the comments here. No one should be marketing Kauai. Absolutely not, but they are. In fact, our mayor put a ban on, of course, TVRs, B&Bs, all of that stuff is done. You cannot.
As it should be.
All of the advertising, wonderful stuff. So you can't even advertise it. That's a $5,000 fine. I love it.
Same here. But you tell me though, Mel, if all it would take, I think, is a few days of leisurely travelers sitting on the plane, not able to get off until folks would get the message. I mean, you could be sitting on that plane for 12 hours, 24 hours, even possibly. And if folks were to ask me, well, where do these people go when they're sitting on the plane? I don't know. I don't care, but they're not getting off.
Hey, get on bathroom as long as you have bathroom.
And there's water. You good?
Your island, your plane, typically it's a hub, so your plane will stay overnight. On Kauai, all our flights go back. So, hey, and it's empty. It's not like you know, we have a policy as homeless people like you guys, you come off the plane, you don't want a place to stay, you go back on a plane or you get arrested. That's like great option. You got to get back on a plane.
Works for me.
One guy chose to go to jail and he went. But remember, I just want to go back to this one statement because we talk about, oh yeah, it's down a lot from a year ago. Comparing tourist travel today, arrivals compared to a year ago is ludicrous. Number one, that's just it's apples and oranges. But remember what I said earlier. It took just one person here, patient number 31, who was able to spread it to hundreds of people, which became thousands very quickly. And I think that's what we got to remember. that even if it's only 7 or only 12 coming to Kauai, and we're talking Kauai here, you guys are getting the bulk of it. By the way, that reports that come out that shows Honolulu, Lihue, Kona, and Maui, all of the connecting flights, Ikaika, that connect out of in Honolulu to come Kauai, they're counted as Honolulu passengers, not Kauai passengers. So you guys have actually less than the report says. We get more than the report shows.
Wow.
So we're taking some of, so the haircut is free next one. I just wanted to go over, hey, Lisa, how are you? That's Ikaika's beautiful wife, Lisa. How are you?
And my barber.
I just wanted to go over, and I'm looking at, there's more comments than questions, Ikaika. So I don't know if you have your Facebook feed going.
I don't at the moment.
Okay. Well, you can go back and look at the comments because there's no real questions. There's a lot of comments. But let me just go through the process of what happens in South Korea. And you know, I've been, and the only reason I keep talking about South Korea is because it's working. It's working.
I agree. So
let me just start. Incheon has a population of a little over 3 million people. That's where we were. Remember, Ikaika? We had a good time in Incheon, met the mayor, and we had a good time.
The council chair,
there are only 39 people that have tested positive. Of these 39, 5 people are foreigners that have come in from Europe in the past 3 days. Here are the procedures. Number 1, once a person is tested positive, they are immediately taken to a hospital facility. There are 2 major hospitals in Incheon that have quarantine facilities, Inha and Gil Hospital. Patients that need 24-hour medical treatments are taken to these hospitals. There is a medical facility in which the building has been sealed off with rooms. Those people with symptoms that are not severe, they're taken to that facility. So number 1, you get tested positive, you are taken to a facility. You're not given a paper that says you must stay in your room. You're not given this paper that says you go isolate. Once a person is confirmed positive, a thorough investigation of who that person has come in contact with is done. On the same day, all of the people that the infected person had come into contact with are contacted and sent to a testing facility to be tested. They are then put on a 14-day mandatory self-quarantine. Everybody you come in contact. So let's use the McDonald's Kona example. They didn't even mention the location of this restaurant. It was only after the second reporter at the press conference asked Dr. Anderson where he finally came out and said it was McDonald's.
Right.
But they were totally satisfied without sharing with the public where this cluster was at a restaurant which thousands of people more than likely went to. So in Korea, everybody, every contact. So if it's a restaurant, then you put it out there. Anybody that came to McDonald's in Kona for the last 2 weeks, you need to report to a testing facility now. See, once you're a contact in South Korea, you get tested. You don't need to be sneezing. You don't need to be coughing. You don't need to have a fever. Once you came in contact with someone, you get tested. Now, this is the best part. How do they get quarantined? They get a self-quarantine app downloaded on their phone. Now, we have been talking about ways to, how can you download the app? Well, that's what they do in Korea. So as soon as you get quarantined, you got to download this app onto your phone. Obviously, it has a GPS ability. Through the app, and I know a lot of people are going to go blow their gaskets right now because they think Big Brother is watching. Well, you know what? I don't like my rights taken away, but in this case,
it is what it is. Too bad.
You're a threat. You're a threat. Through the app, the government is able to track if the person has left the house. They are told they are not to leave their homes and stay in a separate room from those other people in the household. Remember now, these are just the ones that got tested. These aren't the ones that tested positive. These are just the contacts that were tested because of somebody that tested positive.
Right.
If their test comes out positive, they are immediately taken to a hospital or medical facility, and the same procedure that I talked about earlier is repeated. So you went to the McDonald's, you get tested, you drop an app on your phone, and you go to your self-isolation. If the test is negative, they are required to self-quarantine for 14 more days. This includes members of their households. After 14 days, they're tested again. Remember, these are people that tested negative. If it is again negative, they are free from the mandatory self-isolation. And if they ever get symptoms, they come back in. So that is what contact testing is. And that is what contact testing should be. And that is what we should be doing here in Hawaii. The other part that is remarkable is, I'm just gonna bypass all this stuff. Every time someone is tested positive, an emergency message is sent out to everybody's cell phone. Everybody gets, you know that when you're on tidal wave or on hurricane or you get that thing on your phone. Well, that's what they get. Every time someone is confirmed in a certain district of the city, an emergency text message is sent out notifying everyone living in that district. Charlie, you've been harping on this for a long time. Yep. So Incheon is made up of 10 smaller cities. Let's say a person is confirmed in Songdo. That's where he was, Songdo. Then an emergency text is sent to everyone in Songdo immediately notifying that someone had tested positive in that area. That is what Charlie has been asking for, a simple notification that we have had an outbreak here. It could have been in Wailua or wherever it may be. And that is how they do it in Korea. Now, they even go one step further. Once a person is confirmed positive, the city sends out people to start disinfecting their homes, their work. The city does that. The government does that. They go out and disinfect every place that the positive person was in the last 72 hours. So if you went to McDonald's, guess what? The city going into McDonald's and disinfect the place. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be freaking out, like, you cannot expect the government to do it all. Well, you know what? Allowing people to self-isolate and self-quarantine isn't working. And that's why they got to go to these extremes. And then you wonder why their numbers are so low, why they are so successful. Because they took it personal. They took it personal. So, you know, I can say all of this went to, and this is a governor's call, this ain't the mayor's call, but all of these things are things that we should be at least discussing, at least talking about.
Hey, Mel, you know,
yes.
I look at this whole thing and maybe, you know, you can agree, maybe Ikaika can agree or disagree, but I'm going to say it. You know, this home quarantine really reminds me, and you know, Mel, we've been police officers before. We know that when somebody comes out, they go under house arrest. What they do, bingo, they put the bracelets on, right? They put the transmitters. With this quarantine, we have a house arrest with no tracking system whatsoever. That's why people are going to challenge them. That's why people are going to do what they want to do, because there is no way you can get tracked. Now, the people who are going to abide by it, which is, I would say, is a very small percentage, going to be the one to say, well, you know, I spent all this money. Well, I couldn't cancel. I got a nice ocean view room. I might as well stay here for 14 days. At least I can see Waikiki Beach or whatever, you know, and they follow the rules. But for the most part, the others will not. They will not.
Right.
And so one thing that, you know, like Mel said, that I've always been, because I've heard at one time it was a HIPAA violation. I said, wait a minute. I'm not asking for the person's name. I'm not asking for their home address. I'm just saying they're giving information to the investigators from the health department, right, of who they came in contact with. But if you and I, Ikaika, was in the same restaurant back to back, we didn't know each other, at least tell me you were there and I can figure it out for myself if whether or not I could have come in contact or not, right?
That's fair.
But you know, for some reason, I get responses that, you know, it was irrelevant. I shouldn't be asking that question. Okay. But I said, why not? I think that's part of, you know, contact tracing, you know, that kind of gives, because I think we're all akamai enough to say, if we take stock in our own health, and I hear that you, Ikaika, you provided information that you was at Kenny's restaurant on so-and-so date between so-and-so time, I would say, hey, I was there too. So that would get me thinking, hey, I better start watching if I'm starting to get symptoms or not. I better be careful. If I'm coming in contact with anybody, I said, hey, this thing's going to play out one way or the other. Either I got it or I don't. But at least, now you got something to look forward to, because the maps that they provide, I see each county and I see a lot of red, amber colored looking. Some of the things going through forests over there. So I say, what? Get somebody getting infected in a forest. I say, what the hell? It's very hard. I mean, like some places, what's so hard about getting a map? Just put in a little speck. Like they say, there was in Kaimoki, or there was on Wailai Avenue. It was in that area. It's much easier, stuff like that. And I don't, I don't know that. What do you think the answer is, Ikaika?
I think a process like that would work. I don't see it as invading anybody's privacy. You're not asking for identifying information. All you're asking for is sufficient information that would identify a potential person being at a particular place. Mm-hmm. I don't see the harm in that. In fact, I think that's paramount to public safety. It's going to help.
Well, Mel, that's what we've kind of been beating the drums over here.
I would be absolutely comfortable with that.
Well, I think, we when the first response was that it was HIPAA. That was when Dr. Park and Dr. Anderson was in front of the Senate committee. And they popped that question, and they, I think that was the easiest response. I really think that the state's intentions are good. I don't think they want to, hide maliciously, but I think that they are afraid to cause panic in the communities. I think that they minimize this. When you tell me today that we're starting to see the flattening of the curve, I don't buy that yet. We're not there yet.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the experts feel the same way. The other thing is, you're on the windward side, right?
Yes.
Your area was pretty damn red on the map, if I'm not mistaken. I think the windward side was one of the darker colors. But if you listen to Dr. Miskovich, his concerns were the areas that are white, the areas that have 0 cases, the areas like Waihiwa and Laie and Makaha.
Right. Sure, yeah.
A lot of the neighborhoods are low income. A lot of those, they're not being tested. A lot of them are multi-generational households, more plantation era style. And that was his concern, that we're not testing out in those areas. We're not getting numbers from those areas. And yes, while the map makes the map look really good, like, wow, we have it all concentrated here, he's worried about the white spots. And I agree with him that until we get widespread testing out in the white spots, that we're not getting a true accurate picture of or a snapshot of the impact that this virus is having on our people in Hawaii. That's just what I think, and I could be wrong. I definitely ain't no doctor, but I can read, and I can listen to people.
Common sense.
Let's see, Charlie. Anything? I gotta read some comments real quick over here.
No, go ahead.
I think Ikaika, maybe getting off the subject a little. What does the council see as far as the recovery plan for the city and county of Honolulu?
Great question. In fact, I just started that discussion with my staff on Friday. So this is a very new discussion that we're having. We don't have the answers at this point, to be absolutely honest with you, but we are working to envision exactly what Honolulu looks like as we start to reopen, with our small businesses starting to reopen, our restaurants, our bars, our other non-essential businesses, and in particular, the visitor industry starting to reopen and bringing people back to work. But in the conversation that I've had with my staff, we're all of the opinion that before we do any of that, we need to ensure that there is no new spread within a certain amount of time. Right now, the Department of Education is saying all schools will remain closed until such time that there's no new case in 4 weeks. So I think that's a good baseline to start at, that we could say, well, we should remain closed until there's no new cases over a 4-week period. But I think that's what we need to look at. How do we reopen, and under what circumstances do we reopen? We certainly don't want to just reopen because we need to get the economy back moving. I understand that. But we don't want people dying because we went ahead and reopened too soon.
Okay, because, you know, there's been a lot of concern. I believe we had Representative Okimoto and Senator Makaro Kim last night. And one of the things that we had asked about, and I particularly am worried about, is some of the businesses now probably won't be able to withstand. And see, that's really, I consider them really part of the infrastructure that will get, you know, funds flowing back into the system to start rebuilding our government. And if these businesses go out, what do we do? And that's my biggest fear right now. I mean, you know, when they had the order to shut down, it was like there was no preparation time. It was like bingo, bam, shut down. And so nobody could really, you know, get their, I mean, I hate to say it, nobody really could get their affairs in order as far as business is concerned. And it was just like a terrible black eye. And you know, I'm not a business person, but I can just feel the fear, only because the comments we get, because we do this nightly, you know, we see the comments, and I can sense the fear with a lot of the viewers out there. And you know, like now with all this problems with and I'm pretty sure if you heard the nightmare stories about the problems with the unemployment. I mean, they're trying to get a live person, can't get in. Their claim is just ready to expire. They want to update the information. If they don't get it in by a certain time, boom, they get booted out of the system or whatever. And, you know, people are asking about that. And we tried to get an answer last night, but the senator was very honest, right, Mel? She was very honest when she said they were trying to get an answer too at the committee hearing. And they couldn't get a straight, they couldn't get a straight answer. So those are the things I think those are the things that I worry about personally. I worry about.
I understand that.
I think this is where I'm concerned is it seems like from our president down to our state governor, and I understand we gotta open up. We definitely have to open up. But I think as we see these presentations every single day, trying to convince us that, you know, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, you get 21 cases and then you go down to 7 and then you jump up to 13 and you know, it's still unpredictable. And we have to have the plan. There needs to be a trigger. We need to define that trigger. DOE set the trigger at 4 weeks without a new case. Kids can go back to school. I understand now they're thinking about bringing the kids back earlier. I think that's a huge mistake.
I agree.
It's a huge mistake. But that's what
my kids are in public school, Mel. They're not going back if it's earlier than that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would send them back in 4 weeks.
No, we won't.
And and we'll see. Yeah, at the end of 4 weeks, we'll see. I mean, but I think, you know, they're trying, and that's what politicians do, right? They try to make everybody feel like they're part of the discussion. So we're going to give you a little bit out of medical. We're going to give you a little bit of the business that we're working to open up the state. But at the end of the day, you got no business opening up the state if we haven't gotten this virus contained. And that'd be irresponsible. I think that they're sending out the mixed messages. So the business people are getting the feeling like, wow, we're really flattening the curve. You're not flattening the curve if you're getting clusters popping up. I'm sorry. You don't need to be a scientist to figure that one out. If you have a hemorrhoid, if you have one hemorrhoid, and you go to the doctor and he's treating the hemorrhoid and you get a second hemorrhoid, you don't have it under control.
Agree.
You don't have it under control. Don't go lie. The bottom line is this: we don't know where we're at.
No, we don't.
More people released from hospitals than new cases. That is a very good sign. But what is the cluster in Kona going to produce when all the test results come back? What the cluster in Maui, that thing is a nightmare. We still don't know all the results back, right? So let's focus on containing this virus and then determine the trigger. When this happens, then we release A, B, and C. You guys can open up. But why would you even be talking about opening up a bar? Well, what do you think happens in a bar? People get drunk in bars. They forget about social distancing. They hug everybody. They spit on everybody. You see, my point is we got to be very careful. When you set the triggers along the way, you determine what trigger or what occupation or what job, what business is going to be connected to a certain trigger. Because the worst thing you want to do is open up a hotel and then you get a cluster in your hotel. Remember, these things come back. The resurgence, the reinfection comes back, and we need to expect that. We haven't even gone through the first cycle yet. We haven't gone through the curve yet. And we're talking about possibly opening up some business. Yes, I think that discussion is important, but it has to be, in a way, scientific or tied to a trigger so we know, the public know, the business owner knows. Hey, when we go 1 week without a new case, we're going to open up certain industries. We go 2 weeks, we'll open up certain industries. But they're not telling us squat right now. They're basically saying, yeah, you know, we gotta work on opening up the state. We gotta work on opening up businesses. Yeah, but that tells me nothing as a business owner. It tells me nothing. And I think that's where the frustration lies right now. In addition to all the other frustrations that are being piled on, not getting their unemployment checks, not getting the $600 extra, not getting their stimulus check, all of these nonsense that people are it's just building up. Sad to say, domestic abuse is up, family abuse. I get the arrest reports every day. Shocking to see how many people are getting arrested on a nightly basis here on Kauai for family abuse because it is the additional stress and pressure. And you know, government should be working to not give them a hotline number. No, give them a hotline number. Work on the goddamn thing. Fix the unemployment system. Get more people in the answering calls and fixing paperwork. I shared a frustration with Senator Mercado Kim. I watched her on the Senate committee meeting yesterday. It's like talking to a damn brick wall when you talk to the chief of staff from the governor. And that is what I'm saying. Don't talk about it, do it. Get 70, 80 people of your state employees into the unemployment offices. Get them in a phone bank room. They can even do it from home with technology today. Get those goddamn applications processed or people can get their checks. Anyway, sorry for venting. I'm going to go.
And you have some of these folks too who are saying with 4 hours of retraining, they would be qualified and able to switch their job from whatever they're doing, say Department of Agriculture, then going to the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations and assisting with the backlog and the unemployment. But a lot of times, Mel, what that is a simple retraining. And you had employees saying 4 hours of retraining. To me, that would have been well worth it. Retrain these folks for 4 hours, repurpose them, and get them doing something productive. And a lot of these state employees, they want to help. Some folks think, yeah, employees, they don't want to help. A lot of our state employees, they want to help. They want to be out there able to help their fellow citizens. But their supervisors have to help them and enable them to be able to do that. In this instance, retraining, 4 hours, that's got to be able to be done.
Senator Mercado Kim and I think Rep Okimoto last night, they had offered, I think was it the Senate staff? Yeah, it was the Senate staff. They offered, how many, Charlie? Was that 70?
Yeah, 40? No. 40.
40 of the legislative staff members offered to the administration over a week ago. Take them, have them go work in the unemployment office, help start processing these things. Yesterday, it's just like a week went by, but nothing happened. Nothing happened. And I think, you know, how do you got constituents, Ikaika, I got people messaging me hundreds a day. Charlie get the same. How do you respond when government is holding this stuff back? The solution isn't that difficult. You know what I mean? you need manpower.
Mhm.
We have manpower that are at home getting paid that could be used in other areas. Senator Kochi made it very clear to us that they had met with the unions. The unions were fully supportive of the reassignment of these positions. So it was not the union issue. I thought that would have been an issue, but Senator Kochi assured me that was not the issue. And Senator De La Cruz, they were on 2 nights ago. So what the heck is the issue? What the heck is the issue? And I think that is where the frustration comes in. I'm blessed. I'm still working. My wife is still working. But my daughter and my son on the mainland are not. So, but thank God we're working so we can help them so they don't get kicked out of their homes. But there are families, many families, no more income right now, zero.
And I get that. I come from a family of small business people. My uncle's restaurant has been shuttered for weeks. He had dozens of employees who he can't pay. He's doing his best to provide them with benefits. I haven't talked to him in a few days. Whether his benefits are still going for those folks, I don't know. But it pained him when he had to tell these folks that he had no work for them. And I asked him if he would be able to keep his restaurant open and do takeout. And he said, you know, Ikaika, I'm really not built for that. And even if I do takeout, he said, what? I'm going to do takeout. And then I'm going to have 3 dozen people waiting for their meal shoulder to shoulder in the bar. He said, it defeats the purpose. So even if I was to do that for my own survival, he's telling me, as far as I'm concerned, I possibly still a detriment to public health, and I'm not going to do it. So he and his employees now at this point all suck in wind. So I get that. I understand that. And a lot of these employers feel the same way that my uncle does. They're very, very concerned for their employees' well-being, able to meet their financial obligations, putting food on their table, putting a roof over their head, and keeping their health insurance. Tough.
And, you know, it's not those poor employees at the unemployment office. It's not that poor employee that picks up the phone when you call if you should be blessed to get through. This has been going on for weeks now. And people say, Mel, you know, you're so critical. Oh, yeah, I am critical because you see those guys that are making the decisions still getting their paycheck.
Right.
See, they're not going through what our families are going through. See, they probably never had that in their lives to not know how they're going to pay the bill, how they're going to buy food, how they're going to pay the electric bill, how they're going to, and you cannot call nobody.
Exactly.
You cannot call nobody. You guys are telling me they cannot get through. Days they cannot get through. It's not the employee's fault.
No, it's not.
You know?
That's the leadership's fault.
Within a few days, they came up with an app for these tourists so they could download and they can go online and tell them where they're staying. They got somebody, that's not a normal. They came and did that in a few days. It's useless. Mm-hmm. But you tell me you cannot get Spectrum to come over, drop a few more lines? 4 hours training per employee? How freaking hard can that be? I'm sorry for being pissed, but I'm pissed because I'm hearing the complaints and I cannot do nothing about it. Ikaika cannot do nothing about it. You know, and this is directed straight to the state. And I'm not talking about the legislative branch of the state, because from what I've seen from Kochi, from Mercado Kim, from De La Cruz, and from Rep Okimoto, and all of those people, I watched those hearings. They are fighting for the people. They are asking the right questions. And the answer is, you guys watch, you know, I'll take it back to the governor. I'll take this back to the
Our legislators are doing what they can, Mel. You just said that. But with Senator Kochi, Representative Psyche, the leaders in both houses of the legislature, folks got to understand, these folks are legislators. They don't run and they have no say over the executive branch. Same thing with the city and county of Honolulu. The council can recommend. I can shut down the legislative branch, which I did, but I can't make the mayor do a curfew. I can't make the mayor do a stay-at-home order. I can't force the governor to say anytime a plane lands at Honolulu International Airport, only Hawaii residents are getting off. That is a decision that's left to the state executive or the city and county executive. And sometimes what we see with some of these folks, Mel, from what I've seen anyway, is a lack of ability to make a decision. Sometimes folks think too long. Well, if I make this decision, these folks could be upset. If I make that decision, these folks are going to be upset. Tough luck, folks. That's a business we're in.
Yeah.
And I think, at least for me personally, I would much rather people be upset with me because I made a decision than because I didn't have the fortitude and the ability to make a decision at all. I'm happy to have somebody call me up and say, Ikaika, you bastard, you supported that stay-at-home order. I'm okay with that. What I don't want is somebody calling me up saying, Ikaika, you incompetent fool, you couldn't even make a decision. And now we got all these cases because you guys did nothing. That's a problem.
When all said and done, man, people gonna look back and they're gonna judge what actions we all took, whether you're in government or out of government, based on the results of the outcome. I mean, you know what happens if our cases jump and rise and our deaths rise, and then there'll be a lot of blame to go around. If we go hard, if we go strict, if we go scientific, and we keep these numbers down, then it's all worth it. You see, that's what I don't get. This lackadaisical crap that I'm watching every single day, this bullshit telling people it's not that bad. That is what bothers me. That is what bothers me, because I rather err on the side of caution and safety, making sure that our people are safe, making sure our people are fed. You know, appreciate what you guys do, Ikaika. I know you're very active. I'm very vocal, very outspoken, like our legislative team at the state. This isn't about the legislative branch, guys. This is your administrative branch. People come up, and one of the things that irritate me more than anything, and it's going to irritate people when I say this, our president left it up to the governors. That's what he's. I'm not going to make decisions for the governors, whether you like Trump or not. I ain't here to promote, advocate, or whatever. I'm just saying he made it very clear. I'm leaving it up to your governors. Your governors know what your state needs. Your governor needs to know, or your governor knows the needs of your state, and they're going to make the decisions. So, you know, all this about what is the president doing? President is doing what he does. I don't even pay attention, because we have the control, as far as I'm concerned, of the things that need to be done in our state can be done with our state government. We don't need the federal government. We don't need we know we wanted them to shut the airports or the airplanes. Okay, that's not going to happen because our governor refused to sign a letter. Don't blame the president for that. You blame the governor for not wishing to want. They're saying it's a waste of time. So don't blame the president for that. Blame the governor for that. Why? How hard is it to sign a letter? President does a lot of things that's out of this world, but he does what he does. We're here in our isolated state, surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, with all we got. So I'm focusing on the things that our government should be doing and can do without permission from anybody, and that's the route I think we should go. Anyway.
Ikaika.
Boy, you got me fired up, Ikaika.
Ikaika, one of the viewers asked me to ask you, this sounds like a loaded question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What's your take on why the governor is indecisive when it's time to make a decision? What's your take on it?
My personal take is on that is the governor, our governor, is a very nice, decent man. He's a wonderful human being. And I think even his detractors would agree with me on that. But he's one of these that, from when I've watched him over the years, and he served in the legislature with my grandfather, so I have a long history of watching him over his career. But he'll sit back and analyze a decision before coming to a conclusion as to what he should do, because it seems he doesn't want to upset folks. So he'll sit back and try to do as much thinking as possible. With many decisions that an elected executive has to make, you don't have that luxury of time. And if you don't make a decision soon enough, the decision is going to be made for you. And then you're going to be in a worse situation than you were if you had just acted in the beginning. So I think that's really what it is. It seems to me, observing our governor over the years, he doesn't want to make a decision that's going to upset people. That's what I see.
Okay, because, you know, I think, and I appreciate that answer. And like you said, you know, he sits back, but yet I think the difference between making a administrative decision or addressing a situation that involves life or death, I think that's where the dividing line is. One might require a quicker response on the gas pedal.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. And I think these are one of those situations here. But again, a lot of people have asked. I mean, we hear it all the time, and they have the right to their own opinion. They make fun of the guy. I mean, who am I to say? I've been one of those that kind of took pot shots, but the difference with that is I get my face pasted all over the camera, so they know what I look like, right?
Right.
I'm not one of those that just on the sideline taking pot shots. But I think right now the community as a whole, this entire state, everybody's walking on eggshells. And we got to get some messaging out there, and we got to see something tangible that shows that we kind of going in that right direction. I think for one, I see a lot of the comments is with our unemployment, because if you get to a point that they are so frustrated, they don't care how good you do your stuff, they just don't care really. They give up.
Right.
They just like throw blows. And I think we got to intervene. I mean, unemployment got to intervene as soon as possible.
Well, I saw one question about unemployment, asking why certain folks working at home cannot process unemployment claims. What folks need to understand is that in order to get into the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations to process these claims, you need the permission of the department. So even if I wanted to, from the city level, take some of our Honolulu City Council staff and have them process unemployment insurance claims, I wouldn't be able to do that, first of all, until they're trained to do it. Otherwise, they're going to be answering phones, picking up computers, provided they get into the office and have no idea what to do. So they need to be retrained. I think that can be done. But before that can even happen, you need agreement from the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations to let these employees in to help them, because the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations has the ability to make the call to allow other employees from other departments or even other branches of government to come in or not. So that's really what it is. I mean, even with Senator Kochi and Senator Kim and Representative Okimoto offering legislative staff to Kokua, the Senate President and Speaker of the House tomorrow morning could send 50 people from their respective staffs over to the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, DLIR. If they can't get in the offices, nothing's happening. So you need the kokua and the cooperation from that department before anything can happen. And as Mel and I were talking about, that is an administrative decision. But all the governor would need to do is say, sure, we'll accept the kokua from the Senate President, from the House Speaker, and let's try and get this done. Then things can happen. But you need the kokua from the administration and especially from the Department of Labor to make that happen.
Yeah.
I think if we stop the paychecks to the decision makers up in the state until we get unemployment paying, they might move a little faster. I seriously believe that. See, they're not feeling the pinch, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They're not feeling the pinch. So, I tell you, I pray for these people every night.
And you have a valid point, Mel.
Because
you have a valid point.
You don't know where your next dollar coming from. And you watch this crap on TV and they're telling you how wonderful it is. All this stimulus money, all this money coming from heaven, and nobody getting them in their damn bank accounts. It causes some unnecessary, traumatic, possibly unrecoverable stress. So,
and you have people buying their groceries on their credit cards right now.
Huh?
Because that's all they got. You have people right now buying their groceries on their credit cards because that's all they've got.
Lucky if they have credit cards, some people don't. Some people, I think
those that do.
Yes, the paycheck to paycheck is exactly that, and I feel for them. So, and we went 10 minutes beyond our time. We usually get out of here by 8 o'clock, and I apologize for venting. Some awesome discussion. I appreciate you coming on, Ikaika, man. That was fun.
Thank you very much for having me. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk story with you and to hear how you folks on Kauai are doing.
You have a ukulele or a guitar? or flute, or trombone. Yeah. We are going to every night. You've never watched the show, I can tell, but we're on every night at 7 o'clock.
I do.
Lisa, you
my
can
wife
go on
does.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah, I've actually
wife
seen
does.
her name. But if you go to my YouTube channel, just go to Mel Raposo on YouTube, and there's every one of these sessions are up, and you can watch Josh Green or Tulsi Gabbard or Senator Kochi. But every night we close, because when we started this crusade, it was really about flattening the curve, the importance of social distancing and staying at home and washing your hands, don't touch your face. And we put out a threat to the public, to the people, because it wasn't working. People weren't doing it. We went to the chief of police to get us deputized, and we would go out, we'd be the pandemic patrol, and we would go arrest these guys, and the punishment would be they'd have to stay with us for 24 hours, Charlie and I. That didn't work. So
you're going to flatten the curve by singing flat. I got it.
Right yes, on. Baby, that's it. So we're gonna do this again. Just thank you very much, Ikaika. Lisa, thank you for joining us. We are gonna head out tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We got Augie T. It's gonna be a light night. It's gonna be, we're gonna talk story with Augie and find out what he's doing up there in Honolulu, and just hump day humor. Hump day humor. We'll have some fun, and it'll be a lot lighter. Maybe talk about unemployment. I don't know. All right. With that, everybody, ready, Charles?
I think so.
Ready, 1, 2, 3, go. You gotta vamp in, Charlie. Charlie.
Huh? Yeah.
You gotta vamp in. You gotta vamp in. Come on, man.
Okay, you ready? Are you ready?
I talk, you play, I talk, and then we jam. We do this every night. Jesus Christ.
I didn't know you play music, Mel.
Huh?
I didn't know you play music.
Man. Charles, come on. I say, we tell people, if you're going to flatten the
guitar
music for you. Ready, Charles?
Yeah. Oh, we go Aloha, everybody. Take care.
Aloha, everybody. Thank you. God bless. We love you guys. We'll see you guys
tomorrow.
Aloha, everybody.
Ahui ho.
Oh, clock. Aloha.